What's up, everybody? This is Jay, and this is my recap for The Shy Season 2, Episode 6, A Leg Up. Let's get into it. Now, when the episode start off, we see Keisha, and she's training for her track team, running all across the city, running through the neighborhood. We see her go into one of the city park bathrooms, and then she goes in her bag and change, pull out a little red hooker shoes, starts doing her hair, get the weave in order, looking good or whatever. And then next thing you know, she throwing her little slim black dress, and then she's hitting somebody up on the phone. We see this old R. Kelly wannabe dude. Next thing you know, she's walking to the black Beamer. And once she gets inside, she give him a kiss, and next thing you know, they on their way. So we now see the reason why she was back on the track team and what she was really doing. Meanwhile, back at school, we see the kids taking a test, and Papa, he's at the pencil sharpener, sharpening his pencil extra long because he can't stop looking at that TV because he's trying to have that Papa Cave laced. And so he's looking at his position on the leaderboard, looking at the TV, and his mouth is watering. He keeps sharpening the pencil, and then Mr. Bookman tell him, all right, now it's time to go ahead. I think that's enough sharpening. He, oh man, I need a little more. And so as he started taking his test, his pencil break, everybody laughed. Meanwhile, they walking in the hallway, and he's saying, man, we got to be able to, I got to be able to sell this candy, man. I can't let them beat me. He said, man, I thought you sold all your candy at the church. He said, yeah, but her dad, she worked at the train station, so that's more to me. And then we see Maisha walk up, and then Kev was like, oh, I'm glad you back. Now I can stop giving you homework. And Papa like, you been doing her homework? And let me hear y'all going to meet up after school. And then Maisha got all in his face, watch it, big boy. And he like, my bad. At least you keeping it all in the family, Kev. First Andrea, now Maisha. He like, shut up. Jake was laughing. He like, man, what you laughing at, Jake? He like, nah, man, nothing, man. Y'all make a cute couple, man. Go ahead. And so Kev salty, because he know big girls is cool. He just didn't want his friends to know. And so meanwhile, he was walking and talking to her, and she invited him to her birthday party, and she told him they gonna have some Garrett's popcorn. So he was down, even though he said he can't go out on school nights. So she done lured him in with some snacks. Meanwhile, we see Ronnie, and he's still straightening up his grandma's house, and the TV all busted. And that's when Jada said, hey, the realtor across the street got a little job cleaning up that house. You can make enough money to buy her a new TV. You know how your grandma is. And so Ronnie started thinking about it. Meanwhile, we see Brandon getting ready to go to work, opening up the door. And right when he went on inside, he see these dirty ass flip-flops, you know what I'm saying? And he realized that it was Emmett sleeping inside the truck. And so he kick him up, wake him up. Emmett hop up. He like, oh man, why you in here? He like, don't you got a place to stay? He said, nah, man, my dad and them talking too much shit. He say, I see where he got it from. He like, I ain't got nothing from him. And so he brushing his teeth, and he about to spit in the sink. And then Brandon like, hey man, don't you think about spitting that nasty stuff in the sink, man. Gone in the house. He said, man, you got a woman at work and she understand? That's what I need. He said, yeah, well, you need to grow up. Meanwhile, we see Jerica on her way to work, and it's all these protesters at, Miss Thang house. And so she's saying, why are these people here at my house? I'm going to call the police on them. They need to go. And Jerica saying, no, don't call the police. That'll just make things worse. Let me try to talk to them. Let me get them to leave. She said, well, you better go ahead because they need to go. This is my property, and they don't have no rights being here. And so she tried to calm her down while all these people is out in front of her house. Meanwhile, we see Ronnie, and he working with the realtor, and he's telling them about how the people moved, and Ronnie saw that car, and he like, hey, what's up with that car? He say, man, if you want it, you can have it. Otherwise, I'm going to have it towed and junked. And so Ronnie thinking about that car, and he take him inside, and then he's showing him everything. He said, man, clean all this stuff out, and whatever you want, you can keep. Anything else, just throw away. And so Ronnie looking at the work he got to do and what's next. Meanwhile, we see back at the school, Papa sitting there chilling, and then one of these little girls come over trying to crack on him about eating all the candy. And he started roasting her back, and so then they start going back and forth or whatever. And she said, ooh, I know you ain't trying to talk. You need to stop trying to eat all the candy. You make more money. I know. I wonder how your parents feel. He said, yeah, probably like yours. Disappointed. And so she all salty. They all man. Then they start talking, and Kev and Papa was talking. Then all of a sudden, the teacher, Mr. Bookman, calls everybody attention and say that somebody took the test answers and they needed to do some investigation. And so Papa like, man, they better not mess up that field trip. And so everybody laughed. Jake like, man, whatever. And then they come over and said, Jake, we need to talk to you. He said, for what? What you need to talk to me for? And they said, just come with us. Meanwhile, we see after the taste downtown, Brandon, he's ready for the competition. And right when he was getting ready, the guy that he used to work for in season 1 came up and say, I know you. You the guy that banged my wife. And he started smiling like, oh, my bad. And then right before he could finish, dude gave him the finger and said, man, you think I forgot about that? You know, screw you, man. You ain't what you think you is. And then when he walk off, he see him talking with one of the judges, thanking him for getting his wife and him in his restaurant. And so meanwhile, we see Jerica, and she's pissed. She's going to talk to Alderman Swolehead, and she go and talk to him. She say, I was born that night, not last night. What's going on here? And so he come and talk to her. He said, look, these apartments, they're not allowing for people with lower income, so you should try to do that. And she said, look, what do you want? You know my parents for a while, so I'm being respectful. He said, look, you making a nice commission. I want 50,000. She said 20. He said 30, and you get the rest from the client. Meanwhile, after the taste, we see Brandon and everybody, and they getting announced by the judges. And so they tell them they got a secret ingredient, lamb chops to use. And Brandon smiled because he always uses that anyway. And so they all cook, and then the judges come back with the scores 30 minutes later, and they reading off everybody that made it. And so Brandon gets nominated to make it. He's happy. He all smiles. We see old boy he used to work for, Kevin Love, got nominated. And so Brandon was a little salty there. Meanwhile, we see Emmett, and he's going to pick up some stuff from his house where his father is. And his father say, you ain't come in last night. Them ain't the rules. He said, hey, man, I don't got to listen to your rules. I ain't no kid. He said, oh, you grown, huh? He said, I've been grown. He says, well, if you grown, Emmett, then what you need to do is you can try to take care of them babies through the system, or you can come correct with them. I done did both ways. What you should do, since it shows that you working on that truck, you getting paid under the table in the eyes of the law, you ain't got a job. You need to go and talk to them girls, let them know what's up. Meanwhile, we see back at the school, Jake getting grilled by the teachers, and he's saying, you need to tell us what you did. We know it was you. He said, I seen this on the first 48. Y'all need a confession. I ain't confessing to nothing until I got a lawyer. Meanwhile, we see Ronnie cleaning up the house, and he take this shoebox, and then it fall open, all kind of pictures and stuff in there. So he started looking through the pictures, and he sees little newspaper clippings and stuff about him. And so he starts reading it, going down memory lane. He sees a picture of him in this envelope with his mama name. It said Ronnie, age 10. And so then he remembers a flashback of looking in the basement, and an old school dude come up behind him, and he was scared as a little dude. And he said, boy, you better watch what you looking for before you find it. And so Ronnie started thinking real hard about those days. Meanwhile, we see his Maisha birthday party in full effect. They doing a little Soul Train line dance. She over here dancing, swinging them shoulders, doing the shoulder lean. And then we see Kev walk in to the party. You see Maisha right there with her girls, and he goes up to her and gives her the present that he had got her. And then while he was standing there talking, he goes in and gives her a kiss. And so she was shocked that he had gave her a kiss. And she kind of gave him a little look, and then he looked at her and said, I was going to lick your face, but I decided this was better. She's like, yeah, this is better. You can be licking the icing off my cheek. And so then he was saying, she asked if he going to stay. He said, nah, it's too many girls. And so he bounced, and then she looking at the little keychain he gave her, or whatever the case, with her friends. Meanwhile, we see Brandon, and he chilling at home, and he asking Erica what's going on while she getting dressed. And she said she had some friends coming over tonight. He like, friends? She said, yeah, I got some friends coming over, none that you'll like. I got my friend that always get drunk flirting, and then I got a couple other friends. He like, well, I'll see what's up. Meanwhile, the friends is here. And we see them drinking, and she like, Brandon, why you ain't drinking? He said, so what, you trying to get me drunk? She like, lightweight. And meanwhile, the little Carlton over here talking about how his father, my dad, paid the money for Harvard Business School, so I should be there soon. And so then Brandon looking like, look at your bougie friends. And so they all laughing. And she like, well, Brandon made it to the top 3 in this cooking competition. And then her friend like, any man that can cook can get it. Yeah. And then he looking like, girl, she crazy. And then she like, you get for real, Brandon, you doing good. And we know she don't need you for your money, because she making a lot of money after she pay off that alderman deal. And he looking like, what alderman deal? She like, nah, don't be trying to shut me up, Jerica, you know it. And he looked like alderman. She like, yeah, uh-huh. And we know that she ain't with you for money. Don't be trying to shut me up, Jerica. We know that she really with you for that thug ass dick. And he like, what? And she started laughing, and he said, oh, okay, so I'm a thug, huh? And she like, I'll take that, but y'all need to get the hell out of my house. And so then everybody looking at him like, what? And they like, yeah, you need to go. You need to get out. And so he kicked her friends out. And so she's sitting there, and she like, what are you doing? I live here too. You can't just kick my friends out. He like, so what? That's what you think of me, a thug? And she said, no, I didn't say that. You know that. He like, well, I don't know what to think. It seems that's what she always say. You and your bougie friends, they always acting bougie, just like over in High Park. It seemed like all I got is me. She said, don't say that. I'm here with you. He said, you know what? I need some air, and I'm leaving. And so he left out while she was standing there. Meanwhile, we see Kev, and he in the window, and we see Keisha, and she's sneaking in through the back. And so he noticed this car, this new BMW. And so when she get in, he like, I don't want to do this no more. She like, it's okay, this the last time. He said, you said that last time. She says, here, I got these for you. And she give him some new Jordans. And he like, man, these are tight. Where you get these? She said, well, who you think? He said, I didn't know Emmett drove a BMW. She said, boy, stop asking so many questions. You need to go on. Just get out of here. And she pushed him out the room, and he's sitting there looking confused. Meanwhile, we see, Brandon, and he go to his mama old house, and we see Gravy, and he's sitting there tearing up shit. He talking about, man, I needed a project to do, so I started this. And so Brandon's sitting there with his belly on swole, and he complaining about what happened with Jericho or whatever, and he started tearing up stuff. He said, Gravy said, man, you got to be careful, man, starting an argument with a woman at this time of night. He said, man, what you need to do is you need to take the help when it present to you. And so he gave him a story about what happened with him. Meanwhile, we see Emmett, and he's sitting with the big 3. And so he's telling them his situation of money and how they going to have to take what he can give them. And they like, what? I don't see how that's going to work. And then they start saying how hard they work and everything. And then that's when the big dark skin one say, I work here, I work this job, and this girl do that too. And Tiff, you work at the bank and you do what else? And she ain't had nothing else to say. And she like, I think we should keep the original agreement. They like, what, when we don't get nothing? She said, yeah. And so then they all start arguing and stuff. And Emmett, then the dark skin will say, you know what? The baby should be named Emmett Jr. anyway, because he was the oldest. And the other 2 is like, what? And so now they all side battling over stupidness and baby names. He said, hold up, let me go to the bathroom. And while they sitting there arguing, he dip out and leave the store. So meanwhile, we see Papa and Kev and everybody at Jake, and he telling them that they think he stole the test answers. And Kev like, I know you did. I can understand why, but they tripping. And he like, what you mean you can understand why? He said, Kevin said, you the one came up with the idea to steal the volcano. He said, yeah, and you all got an A- too. He said, man, I'm out of here, man. You tripping, man. Always tripping on me. And he left. And Papa looked at him like, well, he didn't say he didn't do it. Meanwhile, we see Ronnie, and he's sitting there washing dishes, and we see Jada, and she says, the realtor said, you quit. What happened? And he said, I just didn't want to do it. It was a bullshit job, Jada. Leave me alone. And he walk off. Meanwhile, we see back at the taste competition, Brandon and they was there, and he sees Emmett, and they talking, and then next thing you know, Emmett sees Keisha walking by. And so he says, hey, Keisha, and he goes run over there, talk to her while she with her friends. He say how good she looking, this and that. And so she say, well, I'm just trying to do this and that, whatever. He like, oh, okay, so, I got enough drama in my life with my baby mamas and stuff. And so he started telling all that drama, and that basically killed the conversation. And she like, look, I'm done with all the drama. I'm looking for more for my life. Meanwhile, we see Brandon, and he getting ready for the competition. And then that's when Kevin Love tell him, hey, you got a good chance. Don't think you're going to win. No, they just needed the black face up here for the competition. And so he said, oh, yeah, right. I'm sure you feel good with that judge in your pocket. He said, man, I don't need that. I got the hottest restaurant in downtown Chicago. I don't need the judge in my pocket. Meanwhile, they going to release the winners. And so Brandon, he all nervous or whatever, a little easy. And we see Jerica and Emmett in the crowd for him, supporting him. And so meanwhile, the judges come up and they announce the winners of who's going to be in the competition. And they say Brandon, Kevin Love, and the Spanish chick are going to be the final three. So meanwhile, back at home, we see Papa and Kevin, they playing the game or whatever. And then Papa say, Jake ain't the one that did it. It was the other kids or whatever. And then Kevin said, man, why you ain't tell me that? He said, man, I can't be going spilling the tea all willy-nilly. And then Kev say, man, how we going to fix this? Meanwhile, we see grandma finally made it home, and she all happy. And then she see her couches move, her chairs move, and she wondering where her TV is. And her TV is broken. He says, well, it was damaged, Grandma. I had to get you a new one. And she say, oh, now you done got my pressure up. Now that Ronnie, you got my pressure up. Jada, come on, help me back here, and you bring my pills, because he don't know the doses like you. And so Jada feels sorry for him, because she knew she was going to snap off, and Ronnie's feelings is hurt because he tried his best. He don't realize Grandma don't play. Meanwhile, we see the kids chilling, smoking, and then Kev come over there to come see Jake. They tell him he in the back. And so he go into the back room, and Jake's sitting there smoking the blunt. And so he say, what's up, man? And so he pulls out a video game and a bag of chips. He like, hey, you're going to need the munchies. I guess he's trying to, have a peace offering. And so they start to chill, play, and talk. Meanwhile, back at the taste competition with the final three, they are now about to announce who won. And so Brandon was nervous or whatever. They sitting there talking to Kevin Love. And then he sees the food that Kevin Love prepared. And next thing you know, they announce him as the winner. And so he happy. He's sitting there posing for pictures like he all that. And so Brandon go and take a piece of the food and taste it. And then he realized, hey, man, this the food I made. This is my food. And he gone over there and talk to Kevin Love, try to talk to him. And he pulls him in close and plays it off like they was cool or whatever. Talking about, hey, man, you worked at my restaurant. You worked for me. So as far as I'm concerned, that food was mine. And so he pushed him off right when they was taking the picture and walk off and cause a little scene. Meanwhile, we see Ronnie back at the house cooking, and Jada asking him about that real estate again, and he starts snapping, and she said, look, you ain't gonna be yelling at me and coming all incorrect at me. What's the problem with over there? And he said, look, it just wasn't right, okay? And so she wasn't letting it go, and so he decided, hey, look, come here, let me show you. Come follow me. And so then they start to walk off and leave out, and they go across the street. Meanwhile, we see Emmett meeting with the big three again. And so they all talking about what's going on. And he put his feet up, and he ain't got no shoes. He said he sold all his shoes, and he had $400 a piece for all three. And so they like, oh, okay, $400. So how we know, that this is not going to be it? He said, look, I'm going to give you what I can. The money is funny on the food truck, but I'm going to take care of you. And, if I don't, then y'all can hold me accountable. And so then Tiffany wasn't going to do it, but she said, I'm going to do it. But if you mess up, all of us going to be on you. And he said, that's fair. And then she said, besides, I know you anyway. You ain't sold all your shoes. You kept a few pair, I know. And so then he started laughing and smiling because they know he ain't going to sell everything. Meanwhile, we see Ronnie, and he went into the house that they needed to fix up. And he showed her this picture, this letter. And it's a picture of him when he was 10 years old with his shirt off. She like, why has he got pictures of you with no shirt on? And he said, no, it's not that. He was my father. And she said, what? This dude was your father across the street? He said, yeah. My grandma told me stay away from him. And so I never really got to know him, but he was my father. And he loved that lawn. So one day I got real liquored up, and you can see Grandma Ethel telling him to stop. And he walked over there with a can of paint. And then he drunk in the middle of the street, and he jealous that dude loved that lawn more than him. So he poured that paint all in the grass. He said, yeah, I tried to destroy it, but I could have did something different instead. And so, meanwhile, see, back in school, Mr. Bookman then called Kev to talk to him. He said, man, I don't know who stole the test. He said, well, no, it's not about that. A little bit, but not exactly. Your test scores were all really good, but it shows it doesn't match up with your grades, which means that this school probably isn't pushing you the way it should. And so here, take this to your mom. And he gave him a packet, and it was a packet to the Northside Academy. And so Kev started thinking about that. Meanwhile, his friends come, Papa won. He like, Kev, I won. Look, the Papa Cave gonna be in full effect now. And they like, yeah, it's gonna be cool. And so he said, what's that? He said, oh man, nothing. He said, come on, man, let's go. We gotta hook it up. And so Kev and Papa and everybody happy, and Kev threw that Northside Academy stuff in the garbage. Meanwhile, we see Keisha at her little track practice and her friends, and they all talking about who they like and don't like and this and that. And she like, no, I don't like Chris Brown. He don't use condoms or this or that. And so they laughing, and she texting. They like, who is that? The new bae? And she's like, maybe. And so then the coach tell her to come on, you got to get moving. And so she put it down and started running, and he got his eye on that little booty. And so while she run away. Meanwhile, we see Ronnie, and he's cleaning up that house now, and then he sees that car, and even though it's raggedy, he probably realized a raggedy ride beats a pretty walk, and so he decided to go ahead and try to fix it, and that's what he started doing. Meanwhile, we see Kev, and now he's going to talk to the pizza place, you know what I'm saying, Mr. Perry's Pizza. And so he asked, hey man, you got an appointment? He said, nah, man, I just was coming to talk to him. He gave me his card, said stop by. And so he went and talked to him, and he said, hey man, you want to have a drink? He said, sure. So they have a drink, and he said, so how can I help you? He said, well, you know, I feel lost, and I just need a little help. And so, you know, it's just hard out here. And he said, well, I understand. The system is against you. What can I do for you? He said, I can use some money. That's what I could use. He said, well, how about 10,000, 10 grand? And so Kevin got happy then. He like, ooh, that would be great. Thank you very much. He said, no problem. I'll be getting back to you. And they shake up. And then as Kevin leave, he pull out the phone, hop on the phone and say, tell the old man, we got a fish. And so that's how the episode ends. And it pretty much is coming down to that they're going to set Kev up to take the fall just to get Detective Toussaint off of their case. And so it's not looking good for Kev, for Brandon, rather, I should say, to take that fall. And the only thing that may work out for him is that they've been watching him for a while. And so they can see the setup as it's happening better than he can. So it may not work the way they planned it. And also, he's having problems with Jerica and their relationship, and he's always ready to, you know, get upset with her over the smallest things. And so it's putting a strain on their relationship. We'll see how that turns out and plays out in the end. I want to thank everybody that support me at patreon.com. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please do so and hit that like, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.